What's poppin', people? Welcome to the Breakaway podcast. I'm your host, John Root. We got a hard-hitting episode with NFL Hall of Fame linebacker Brian Urlacher. He goes absolutely off on how the NFL has changed since retirement, has some thoughts on COVID, as well as social justice virtue signaling. He definitely does not like men and women's sports, has a lot of thoughts on that, as well as cancel culture. And watch out, Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith. Brian Urlacher is coming after you. He absolutely sacks both of those guys and woke media. He's got Aaron Rodgers back, as well as Tony Dungy. Stands up for fatherhood, toughest opponents. Deshaun Watson allegations, he's got some thoughts there. He loves Kyrie Irving. We have so much packed into an episode. This is just part one, people. So without further ado, NFL Hall of Fame linebacker Brian Urlacher. What's going on, people? Welcome to the Breakaway podcast. I'm your host, John Root, sitting next to a Hall of Famer, absolute beast. We got Brian Urlacher in the house. How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Not so much a beast anymore.
Oh, you're once a beast, always a beast.
Well, I'll take that. I was a Pro Bowler. I was a Pro Bowler. I heard that from a guy who made the Pro Bowl once. So.
Man, we've had some studs in this studio. I know we had Cameron Haynes. Okay. We've had Michael Chandler. We've had some real studs. But before we get into this conversation, if you guys are not subscribed to the podcast already, make sure you go to Apple and Spotify, leave a 5-star review. We're also on YouTube. You can subscribe, press the bell, subscribe, and get all those notifications. It's good stuff. But I'm just going to start out swinging, okay. Brian here. Obviously, legendary linebacker with the Chicago Bears. Tell me how Chicago has changed since your playing days.
That's a good question. I haven't been back there since then. So, once I so I came down to Arizona, started coming in 2006, and then right when I retired, we pretty much came here full time because there's no reason to be there. Like, I grew up in New Mexico. This is closer to New Mexico. I kind of put some roots down here. And right when the weather sucks, number one. But I really haven't gotten back there. Just from watching on the news and stuff and what I see, it's not a safe place. Downtown. The thing I love about Chicago when I lived there was downtown. I didn't live downtown. I lived up north. But downtown was clean. Man, you felt safe down there. You could walk around Michigan Avenue. There's no trash. I compare it to New York, whereas in New York, there's trash everywhere. Chicago downtown, there's no trash anywhere. It's just like a clean, pretty big city. And now I haven't been down there in so long. I wouldn't want to go down there. It's scary.
So it's not place. Like what Juicy Smollett was saying, that while he's walking around in like negative 45 degrees to go get some Subway, it's not a bunch of people yelling, this is MAGA country?
MAGA country. I don't think it's quite like that. I mean, it was in his case, obviously. It was very stressful for his situation. But it's not quite like that.
He's a great actor.
Super good. Almost got away with it.
But during that time, though, too, there was a lot of patriotism in the NFL. Like, that was during, like, we were just had 9/11 happen. It seemed like sports, too, it just brings people together unlike anything else. And people rallied around your team and just sports in general to figure out how can we get away from this absolute tragedy that happened and just reignite this patriotism through sport.
So 9/11 was my second year. I remember it happened I was working out. So Tuesdays are off day. Happened Tuesday morning. I was at the facility working out, and in the training room, they're like, "Oh no!" And I went in there. I actually watched the buildings fall from the training room at Hallis Hall. And that game, we weren't sure about that week if we were going to play or not. So everyone took a vote around the league, and they ended up canceling the games, which they should have done. Yeah. And we played the next week, and the next week, just Soldier Field, great place. But they brought the flag out to cover the whole field. They had some first responders there. It was just unbelievable. The scene was amazing. And plus, it was a week away from football around the country. Everyone's ready to get back to kind of, I guess, take their mind off what was going on in New York. But it does bring people together, that's for dang sure.
Because it seems like right now with sports, it's just like there's so much if you bring up something that is just pro-America, people get pissed off at you because there's a deconstructionist movement going on right now.
Yeah, you can't believe in America. What? We don't even watch. Like, I like to watch college football. I used to like it a lot more. I don't watch no NBA, obviously. Baseball, no. Hockey, I never have really watched, but I would watch hockey if I was into it. College football and college. I did watch a tournament. My daughter goes to KU, so we watched the NCAA tournament because KU was in it. They did pretty well towards the end there. But yeah, we really don't watch a lot of pro sports. I like football. If I bet on the game, I really want to watch it.
Are you a big sports bettor?
I like to bet on football, man. It's fun. Obviously, when I played, I couldn't do it. I didn't even know. Like, people would ask me, like, "Did you know the spread?" I was like, I had no idea what the spread meant. When I played football, I knew we were going to beat the team across from us. That's all it meant to me. I didn't know the spreads. I didn't even know what it meant. So when I first started actually trying to bet. I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't know what the plus and minus meant. I had to figure it out. But
well, that was probably good though, because
it's a great thing for sure.
See stories like Calvin Ridley right now, where it's like, he's taking a mental health break and he's just throwing down parlays that he's losing.
Well, here's the problem now. It's too easy to bet. They got all these betting apps. I mean, you throw a couple bets down on, was it MGM Bet, and there's Caesars and all these apps.
Yeah,
you can just go on your phone and make a bet. I mean, how easy is that? You know, it's regulated, so it's okay. But I don't think it's safe. You know, you may have see it happen a bit more often than you normally would because it's too easy to do it now.
What's your biggest win in sports betting?
Ooh, sports betting? This year, I don't want to say my numbers, man. I'll say this year, like week 6 or 7 in the NFL, I don't think I lost a bet. I hit like 4 parlays. I'll say Pittsburgh had to beat Seattle at home on Sunday night for me to win. It was my last team I had in the parlay, and the 2 teasers, and they all hit. So and I didn't lose a bet all day.
Are you most of the time you're going like straight money line with those parlays?
No.
Or are you going like spreads here and there?
Parlays
teasers?
are fun because you just go. I like to do the money line, the favorites on the money line. Sometimes I'm not a big dog guy unless I'm betting the spread. And this year would have been great to be a dog better because the dogs did great all season long. But yeah, I don't know. You would think I'd be better having played the game, but I'm not a very good bettor. Mm-hmm. I wish I was better.
How would you compare this season to any other season that you've been a part of or seen? Because, man, I think this year's NFL playoffs were maybe the best in my entire life. Like, you had a full round where it came down to a last-second kick, a last-second play. It was unbelievable.
I think the most amazing thing about the playoffs this year, and this was just incredible to me, how they just got rid of COVID. It was amazing because all season long, it was like they should get the doctors in the NFL to work for the government because it was amazing because all season long you had 4 or 5 guys on the COVID list, not sure if he'll be back, same thing. And then once the playoffs started, guess how many positive tests the NFL had? 0. That was the most incredible thing about the playoffs. I mean, the games were great, but just the way they were able to get rid of COVID and kind of finally solve the problem of how to get rid of COVID. It was amazing. I don't know how they did it.
And that's what's crazy, too. You saw some news that they're just like, all right, well, if you're asymptomatic, we're not going to test you. It's like, wow, what a concept.
Really? Why not? I mean, it was just, or if you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, there were so many rules I couldn't follow it every week. But they got it right, obviously, in the playoffs because these guys are NFL players. They're in pretty good shape. Mm-hmm. If they do get it, they're not going to be out for a day or two, maybe. So.
What do you think about the position that some players were put in? Because you had Cole Beasley that was adamantly saying, I'm not pro or anti-vaccine. I'm just like saying I am pro-choice here. Yeah. We are freedom-loving Americans. And then we even had Harrison Butker on, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. And he said, I would much rather retire than go against my morals and convictions and be forced to get a medical procedure that I don't feel comfortable with. And you're hearing things like this, and there's a lot of young guys. Like you were a young guy in the NFL once where like, I'm just doing everything I can.
The pressure to get on the field, the pressure. And so the thing about it is like the guys who may have been fringe guys, like making a team, they're getting that shot no matter what because they don't want to have a reason for the team to cut them beyond what they can do on the field. Does that make sense? Yeah. So all those guys are going to comply. They want to do exactly what the NFL says to do. And then you got the older guys who are more established, Cole, Harrison. They're like, it's my body. I'll decide what I want to put in it. But the stuff they've made them do every week, the testing every day, the wear your mask in meetings, separate from this and that, don't go out during the week. You can't be out of your house at certain times during the week. I mean, that's a little much to me. I mean, it's a free country. It used to be a free country.
You didn't know that COVID's nocturnal?
No, and here's a cool thing about COVID. COVID lives, so if you're walking in a restaurant, you have to wear your mask, but when you sit down, you can take it off. It lives like 5'10" and above. That's what I've learned over the last, 2 years. It lives at certain levels, and it is nocturnal. I did figure out some things.
Honestly, we're screwed.
Like, we're too tall.
We're both you're 6'4", right?
6'4". Just wear a mask. Yeah. You're good. Just put your mask on because it'll protect you before everything.
Some people were bringing up you should put in some dining tables inside of classrooms, and then you'd be able to take your mask off when you sit down, right?
Or when you go to Vegas and you want to gamble without wearing a mask at the table, just put a dining room in there, or pretend like you're at a club because you don't have to wear them at the clubs in Vegas. Mm-hmm. There was a short time there where you had to wear it everywhere in the casino except at the club. That makes a lot of sense, right? Where there's the most confined group of people, you don't have to wear it.
It's not supposed to make sense.
No, it's not. You're right.
It's all about compliance.
What they can do for you. What they can do to you. I'm sorry, not for you.
And one of the biggest bummers for me is I feel these kind of conversations should have been happening during this time, but they silenced everyone. They just don't have some different opinion. And if you do, all of a sudden you are the worst of the worst. You're not wearing a mask, you're killing grandma. If you're not getting a shot, you just care about yourself. And then there's a lot of backlash from fans and media members. There's a vast majority of them that are on the left, and they've really shown their politics. Has that changed from your playing days?
So when I played, it didn't matter. We didn't pay attention to it. And I really didn't think about any of this stuff till probably 4 or 5 years ago. Didn't matter to me, you know? And then it would be really difficult to be on an NFL team these days. I would say that because of all the politics that goes on. Like none of that mattered back when I played. It didn't matter if you were left or right. No one cared. Now it seems to be an issue on everything you do, whether you stand for the anthem, kneel for the anthem, whether you're vaccinated, unvaccinated. That shouldn't matter, you know. And back when I played, thank goodness none of that stuff mattered.
So what do you think about all that right now, too? Because people need to have an explanation for, you know, LeBron and everybody else in the bubble. Obviously, you had some thoughts. You had some thoughts about that I think were really important.
Yeah.
But if you say something like black people are getting hunted every single time they leave their door, you need to explain that. And media members need to say, like, what do you actually mean by that? What are the stats and data behind that? Because if that's actually happening, I think we're all coming together and say, what can we do to help?
Exactly right. But people of LeBron's stature say things, and they're harmful. Some of the things he says are harmful. He has nothing to back up what he says. You know, some of the stuff he says, it's just, I'm like, where's that come from? That's so far out of left field. And maybe that's just the way he sees things. Obviously it is, or what he was told. But it's tough, man, because so many people see what he says and they believe it. And maybe that's why, you know, he can do no wrong in some people's eyes. I personally don't believe a lot of stuff he says or don't really pay attention to it because I don't know where it comes from.
Because I don't think LeBron is a dumb guy. He's obviously a great businessman. I think he has
great basketball player.
Great basketball player, and I think he's done a lot for the community that we try to bring up on this show too. Like there is an aspect of like the art and separating the art from the politics. He is one of the best players and one of the greatest athletes we are going to ever see in our lifetime, or maybe even just in the history of basketball in general.
Top 5 for sure.
But when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's like, well, you need to be able to explain yourself.
Well, the problem is now. Like you didn't hear back in the day, you wouldn't hear basketball players say the stuff he says. It's never been an issue until now. And now everyone's speaking out on certain issues, but up till the last couple of years, it never happened before. People just didn't say anything because it was probably safer to stay out of it. Now the cool thing is to say something so you can be popular with certain groups, or you're like, oh, I'm standing up for this, I'm standing up for that. As long as you're on one side, you can say that. But if you're on the other side, don't say a word. But you cannot say anything if you're on the other side. But if you're on this side of an issue, good to go. Say as much as you want. You can't be wrong. But if you're on the other side of the issue, you better keep your mouth shut because you'll get canceled. And
then you kind of had a situation like that. Like you were basically canceled, and kind of
lots of mean things were said to me.
But you have people like Max Kellerman. I know. Like what he had to say saying that you are susceptible to low quality information, that you live in a Fox News silo of extreme right wing propaganda. When you were talking about the Milwaukee Bucks.
Do you have the quote or the Instagram thing that I posted?
Yeah. So
let's say what I said.
You said Brett Favre played the Monday night game that day his dad died, threw 4 TDs in the first half, and was a legend for playing in the face of adversity. NBA players boycott the playoffs because a dude reaching for a knife, which you were saying this right when it happened. Yep. This is true. Yep. You've been vindicated. Yep. And you said he was wanted on a felony sexual assault warrant, was shot by police. Yeah. Tell me what's wrong.
So that was a repost from somebody else's story.
Yeah.
But everything in there is true. Nothing I said was made up. Nothing had to do with race. Nothing had to do with anything else except they were all facts. That's all it was. Mm-hmm. And then I got, oh, you're a racist, you're this. And Max, by the way, Max is just blabs on TV. That's all he does all the time. You know, I don't watch their show. I can't stand watching him talk. But I didn't watch Fox News, so I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't watch any news back then. I damn sure do now. I really enjoy watching Fox News now.
You like Jesse Waters, right? That's
Jesse's great. Gutfeld's funny as hell, too. Obviously, Tucker gets it in pretty good. Is it Samantha Bream? Is it Samantha Bream?
I think Samantha Bream.
Anyway, she's great. With the late night news, she's good. But yeah, Fox is good. They got, you know what I like is the 5, too.
5 is great.
What's her name? Harris?
Faulkner.
She is great.
Yeah, it feels like you kind of got the Avengers together.
When they go on there, her and Kaylee and was it Emily? I don't know. Anyway, and they always had the one guy in the middle. Poor guy. 4 guys, 4 girls. and one guy in there. They're all beating up on him. But yeah, I do watch Fox now, thanks to him, because I never really watched the news before. But when he said that, I was like, oh, maybe I'll check it out. Mm-hmm. So just when I want to get the real information of what's going on in the world, I'll tune to Fox.
What was that time like, though? Because you obviously got so much backlash, and then you even had people like Stephen A. Smith that saying that Brian Urlacher exposed himself and his level of thinking, calling you an idiot, calling you someone that is just devaluing black lives. Like they went so far to the end of the spectrum.
And it had nothing to do with color or race or anything like that. It was frustrating because people were reaching out to my kids, which pissed me off, which I'm okay if you want to come to me. I got no problem with you coming to me. I can handle myself.
You can take on anybody. People know that.
Verbally, however you want to do it. Physically, we can talk, but don't come to my kids or my family or my wife or anything like that, or my sister, my brother. Don't mess with us. But that was the thing that pissed me off the most, was just people going at my family. Come at me all you want to, but don't talk about my family. Mm-hmm. But like I said, everything in that statement was true, and it had nothing to do with race, because it really didn't. And I didn't post it to have to do with race, but it was turned into that because that's what fit at that time. So everyone turned it that way, and then you saw where it went after that.
And I think what I gotta love about you and your playing days, and even outside of it, is just you're standing firm. It's just like I'm gonna take on anybody. Obviously, like don't mess with me, but you seem to always be prepared.
Well, I wasn't prepared for the backlash I got, but people are like, you should take that down. You should apologize. For what? I didn't say anything wrong. Everything in that statement was true. So there's really nothing to apologize for. I simply stated Brett Favre played after his dad passed away, and the NBA took a knee, or they didn't want it. They boycotted because a man got shot for pulling a knife on the police. Yeah, that's all true.
The Milwaukee Bucks in the bubble said we are going to not play this game because of Jacob Blake.
And it's all true. Everything I said was true. It had nothing to do with race or anything else besides the facts. That was all.
Did you? You're not really watching the NBA at all, but
I haven't watched it in 3 years. Yeah, are they still playing?
They're playing right now. They just, as we talk right now, they have another day of playing games for the playoffs.
Gotcha.
But did you hear about the protester that was on the court?
I did not.
There was a protester on the court for the Clippers Timberwolves game, and it was someone that was just like an animal rights activist. Oh. And at first, you're trying to figure out, like, well, what is this person doing? They tried gluing their hand to the court.
How do they have time to get out there? Where was this person? Like in the middle of the court?
Yeah, so on the other end of the court, they were shooting free throws.
Okay.
And then on this end of the court, originally the broadcast thought that it was maybe an arena worker that fell.
Or maybe, you always see the guys cleaning the floor at the other end.
Yeah. But what I loved about finding out exactly what they were standing against is, like, I guess they didn't like the owner and what they're doing with, like, some animal cruelty stuff along the lines of, like, bird flu nonsense or something.
Okay.
And I'm still saying I think that protest was more legitimate than the protests we saw in the NFL, the WNBA, and the NBA about Jacob Blake and George Floyd.
Yeah. Well, they put the names on their jerseys. The NFL put them on their helmets or something like that.
Yeah, they still have like stop hate, end racism.
Yeah. I saw the end zones this year. There were some slogans on the back of the end zone. I'm okay with all that. I mean, if you can put a slogan on your helmet, why don't you get to choose which one? I'm sure they give the guys 3 or 4 to choose from, because you see those on every guy's helmet. Why can't you put what you want on your helmet instead of what they choose for you?
Exactly.
Because I'm sure there's some guys who wouldn't. The guys who just have like bears on their helmet or whatever, or it's either put bears on your helmet or you can choose from these 3 slogans. But why can't I put what I want on there? You know, you guys are giving me what I can put on there. I don't want to choose any of those. I want to choose what I want on there.
Yeah, especially when it came to the NBA bubble and they had their social justice jerseys. Every single player had to like say her name.
Yes, I saw.
And it starts with us. And you have other guys that are like, I want to put Jesus Saves on my jersey.
Nope.
No, you want to put Free Hong Kong? Nope.
Not Cantor. Yeah, right. He was great. He's still great. The things he says.
We had him on this show too, and he was fantastic, breaking all that stuff down.
And he knows his facts. He knows what he's talking. I mean,
because he did his research.
Yes, he's smart. You listen to him like, damn, that dude is. He knows what he's talking about. I'm gonna listen to him. He's not just up there blabbing. He's saying things that actually make sense. Unlike myself, he knows what he's talking about. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Like, I'm okay with that as long as you can let me put on my jersey what I want to put on my jersey.
Is there ever a time you feel like now that we're in this social media age, that you're trying to like grow your brand a little bit, or you're just kind of like, hey, this is kind of like my life. This is what I'm going to post. I feel like there's a lot of players now that have to worry about like, oh, maybe I'm going to try to cater to fans, but I want to say something that's going to maybe create some sort of backlash or hurt my sponsorships or something.
Yeah,
like
I'm not too worried about that. I just, if I do something funny with the kids or on the golf course, I'll put it on my social media. I have a couple partnerships. I'll put stuff on there for that. But thank goodness when I played, there was no social media. I'm so happy that during my career, and I think towards the end, maybe there got to be more, but when I played, there was no social media. And I'm glad about that because these players have to deal with so much more backlash now because people can reach out to them now. They can send them a DM. They can do things that back in the day, you had to actually know someone to talk to them. But now they can just go on their social media and send them a note or whatever, or go on one of their pictures and post something. So, I'll post what I want to post. I'm not too worried about it.
What would you tell NBA, NFL, any pro athlete right now about social media and how to be careful? Because there's so many kids that you might have said something when you were 12 and then you're just quoting a rap lyric. It's like, why are you not going
through? How about Josh Allen when he said something like when he was 19 and they brought it all the way back when Stephen A made a big stink about it when he was getting drafted.
Of course,
he dropped a certain word allegedly. I'm not a huge social media fan. Honestly, I don't like. It's fun for me to go on there and check it and just look at people's stories. And I love the animal ones; those are my favorite. I like when people share those. But
do you got do you follow like a golden retriever page or something like that?
We have a golden, so I do like golden retrievers. There are some golden. The cats make me laugh. I love the Nat Geo and the Discovery Channel stuff. But if I had to give some advice, I don't know, man. Just be careful. That's all you can really say. Try not to post something. I guess if you don't want to deal with the backlash, don't post it or don't comment on someone's post. Just
Could you imagine if Bears fans that you interacted with on a daily basis were on social media like they are now? Like, what was that interaction like with Chicago fans? Because they're nuts.
They are crazy.
They're dedicated.
Good crazy. They're not crazy like they're nuts. They're just they love their team. Man, if I actually had a chance to talk to some of them, because now with social media you can do that. You can go. Was it the live streams you can do, and people can jump in there and talk.
And
to
then
you.
Even just DM someone. Can
DMs,
just send, it's almost like sending a text to you.
It is if you check them. But that would have been different. Yeah, I don't know that would have been a lot different than when I played. Because I don't know if I would have had it because I'm not very techie. So my wife just had to show me. I think it's been about 3 years now since I've had my actual Instagram on my phone. Before then, she ran it for me, and she's like, "Hey,
what a gal!
This happened. Hey, I'm going to post this. Cool, thank you." Now I'm still not good at posting. She helps me out with that, but I'm getting better. I can watch stories and read messages and stuff like that. I'm getting better.
What's the wildest interaction you ever had with the Chicago Bears fan?
Oh, the fan. I don't know. We were at dinner last night here in Arizona, and I really appreciate the people who just like, hey, nice to meet you. Thank you I'm a fan. And then they walk away. I'm like, dude, that was nice, man. Really nice guy. Nice guy last night stood up at dinner. We were sitting and having a hamburger at this place, and the guy walked up and said, hey, I'm a Bears fan. I'm from Chicago. Live here now. Awesome. Nice to meet you. I was like, dude, thanks. And I want to talk more. And he just walked away. But, there's some weird stuff. People get excited to see it, and I appreciate the people who get really excited. And it's easier now because my kids are older and they've been around it for so long that they're just like, oh, Dad's going to say hi to this guy, whatever. Yeah. But when they were younger, man, my oldest she used to get pissed. She would get mad at people when they would come up. She would get in between us and like not let them talk to me, or she'd be like, he has to go. So she was feisty and she got tired of it.
She was like your bodyguard.
Yeah, she was good, and if she saw someone taking a picture, she would jump in front. If I wasn't paying attention, she would jump in front of the picture. She was good. She's still good. They're still very protective of me now when we go places and do stuff.
When you were in your playing days and you're jumping into Chicago and you're like, man, this is just the monsters of the Midway, and I'm jumping into a legendary organization here. Like, what was that feeling like being in a first-round pick? I think you were pick number 9.
Number 9,
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, did you feel like a real sense of pressure to like, man, we got some dedicated fans here, and I want to make them proud, and I want to make my family proud, and I want this place to get back to where it used to be? My
family's the number one thing. The fans never crossed my mind. When you're young coming into the league, and the way I was, I didn't really have a position when I got drafted. I was a safety in college. They were going to put me at Sam linebacker, which they did my first training camp, and I stunk. I got beat out by Rosie. It's funny. I did a podcast the other day with 2 of my old teammates. They were second-year players my rookie year, and Rosie, I got drafted to take Rosie's spot. He was a Sam linebacker, and the first day I was a starter. I didn't have to beat him out. I was drafted. He was out, and he was good. He was really good. So 2 weeks in training camp, I was on the bench, Rosie was starting. So, it's nerve-wracking because I didn't know. I'd played safety in college, and then going down to Sam, linebacker, was terrible because I was a space player. I needed to have space to operate. And Sam, if you don't know, you're on the line of scrimmage pretty much on the tight end every play, jamming him or spilling the run or just it's boring as hell. You don't get to do anything. So then when Barry got hurt in week 2, he's like, Coach Bosch goes, you're going to play Mike now. I was like, I never played Mike. What do? Just run to the football. I said, okay.
I can do that.
And then I never played another position in my life since that day. But training camp was tough because you can't screw up. You're expected to know what to do every single play, and your coaches hold you accountable, but your teammates hold you accountable. So when I screwed up, there was repercussions from my teammates. They were yelling at me. The older guys don't care if you're a rookie, a first-round draft pick, a free agent. They don't care. Do your job because their job's on the line. Every play, the NFL is such a cutthroat business. If you don't do your job, it may affect someone else's ability to do theirs as well. So when I didn't do my job right in training or in preseason my rookie year, I was definitely let know by other players I wasn't doing my job right.
All right, we're going to take a little break from our awesome conversation with Brian Urlacher and talk about food. Some good food from our friends at Good Ranchers. Food's a huge part of the sports experience. What if I told you could buy food for that watch party and donate to Team USA without even leaving your home? You say, John, get out of town. Now you can with Good Ranchers. They sell 100% American meat, and they believe so much in what we're doing, they're going to donate 50 buckaroos to Team USA on your behalf when you purchase from them. Good Ranchers delivers steakhouse quality beef, chicken, and seafood right to your door. With code TPUSA, you can donate $50 to our mission while getting absolutely delicious food. I'll tell you what, oh man, it's getting hot in here. I'm starting to get the meat sweats. Woo! Head on over to goodranchers.com/TPUSA today. Get ribeyes, New York strips, gourmet burgers, and more. Order now, people. Come on. Promo code TPUSA and $50 will be donated to our mission of sharing and preserving true American values. Go to goodranchers.com/TPUSA to get a box today. Oh man, all this talk. Once again, use promo code TPUSA at goodranchers.com/TPUSA. Do good while you eat good. Now back to our conversation. What was the biggest thing you learned in your early days?
Don't mess up. I was going to say another word, but you have to know what you're doing every single play. Like I said, you have to be sharp. You got to study. And people like football, you just react. No, you don't. There's so much studying that goes on, and so many things that go on pre-snap that people don't understand and realize that happened. I didn't realize either my rookie year. I didn't know I needed to be doing this and that because college was easy. I line up, I'd run to the football. It was simple. The NFL got that way for me. When you're not thinking in football or play any sport, you're going to play really well because you're not slowing down. You're just reacting and running to the football.
Because you got to be a couple steps ahead because, you're going from college to the best of the best from their colleges are here. Like, you can't just run to the football. You might got to run to the spot you're going to meet them at.
You got to take angles. Yeah, angles. Yeah. People don't understand how big of a deal angles are in football. And it is in ping pong as well. I play I play ping pong almost every night with my kids, and I'm like, angles are a big deal in ping pong. Anyway, but yeah, angles are a big deal.
Is that what you're telling these kids growing up? If you want to be like me, play some ping pong, learn your angles.
Take better angles, you'll be much better off at what you can do. Problem is you take an angle that you think you're fast enough to take, and the guy outruns your angle. That's not good. That happened to me in the NFL as well. But yeah, you got to understand where you need to fit as a linebacker. Run fits, what gap's yours. And if someone goes in your gap, you got to fill their gap. That's why I think Lance and I were so good together. Lance Briggs. We played 10 years side by side. Like if we would screw up on a play, whatever, it didn't matter. We just cover for the guy. We played long enough together. We could figure out where the other guy was going to be. So that helped a lot. But you got to know where you have to fit every single play.
Lance Briggs, Sacramento guy. That's where
Sacktown, that's your spot. Yep. He was a good football player. Man, he was good. He was the most instinctive player I've ever played with. Like, he would stress me out because so Sam was our will. Say I got the B gap and Lance has the A gap, which is the gap right next to the center. My man Lance would be out here by the slot. I'm like, Lance, you have the A gap. He's like, oh. He's just looking at his head like, yeah, I got it. And he'd always end up there, but he's always sugaring or showing somewhere else before the snap. But he'd always end up in his gap. Maybe right on time, but my man was always there. But he was good. Man, he was good. He was just instinctive and just kind of knew where the ball was going every play.
Who was the most inspirational guy that you played with or played against?
Ooh, inspirational I played with. That's a good question. Dang. Can I use a coach?
Yeah, you can definitely use a coach.
Man, I played for some great coaches. And people, I think coaches are underappreciated because, I know I got better when a certain coach got to Chicago. When Bob Babich came to Chicago, who's my linebacker coach for 9 years, he was my presenter for the Hall of Fame. Yeah. I got better, and I was pretty good before he got there. But when he got there, I kind of took that next step mentally because physically, I was always a pretty good athlete. I could always run. I was big, but
man, you had a fast 40 time. Like you're probably one of the fastest linebackers.
At the combine, I was I think 4.5 something, which is not that fast, you know. But it was a slow turf, they call it, the slow track in Indy. Now it's the fast track. But in my pro day, I ran like a 4.4 something.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to go by, the 4.4 something.
Okay, we're going with that.
Yeah, 258, 4.4 something. But once Bob got there, I took the next step mentally. I knew exactly what the D line was doing, the corners, the safeties. I knew what everyone's job was. And as a middle linebacker, that's what you're supposed to do. And I didn't figure that out till they got there because he grilled us every day on just gaps and this. I mean, it was so boring sitting in meetings because we never talked about anything but run fits, gaps, this, that, and we never got I used to fall asleep in meetings before he got there. Now I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna take a nap. You know, our coach would just sit back there and talk and run the little prompter thing and never wake us up because you didn't know.
You just got the laser pointer.
He would literally sit back there and talk the whole time and never ask us questions. I'm up there nodding off. Lance is against the wall. But then when Bob got there, Bob's standing here asking me questions. All right, Lack, what do you got here? Lance, what are you doing here? Brian goes here. What do you got there? Get on the board and draw this. And I was like, dang, this dude knows his stuff. So as you got a guy talking to you like that, you want to get into it. And you know, we try and screw him up too with the defense. But once he got there, to answer your question, sorry, inspirational. Probably Bob Babbitt just challenging me. And Coach Smith was great too, but just challenging me to get better every day because he knew we were good, but like mentally was where I took the next step when he got there because he challenged me every single day, whether it was walkthroughs, practice, meetings, always trying to get me to be better. Player-wise, other teams, gosh, I don't know, man. Like who inspired me to play better? Is that what you want to know?
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like there's times where there's great rivalries in sports, and you could hate the person on the other side of the field, but you have such a massive respect for them.
So I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. I grew up in New Mexico. The Cowboys were our team, and the Cowboys played the Packers every year. I feel like I love Brett Favre.
Yep.
That dude was a badass. He still is, you know.
Gunslinger.
So when I got to Chicago, I was like, Brett Favre, I'm playing again. And my first game against him, I sacked him. I was like, dude, I'm the man. I bragged sack Brett Favre. And we actually beat him 28-24 at Green Bay. We were 0-4, and we went up to Green Bay and beat him. But he was always like, he was so tough. Like if that doesn't inspire you as a football player, a quarterback, as tough as that dude is, especially a defensive player, to be on the field, he played hurt. He played dinged up. He was a tough guy, man. His father passed away. Obviously, he ended up playing the next 2 days or whatever. But
what an inspirational moment, though. Like when you look at some of these, like me growing up, I'll never ever forget watching that because it's a primetime
Monday night game.
Oh my gosh! And that was going back to
and they kept showing his wife, and then he showed Brett. You can see he's been crying. You can see he's upset. First half, 4 Javon Walker, I think, caught 2. Bubba Franks, but it was unreal. No, Bubba wasn't there anymore. I think it was Wesley Walls who caught the other 2 touchdowns. But they ran through the Raiders as well. And I think the whole team responded, not just Brett, but when something like that happens, you see the whole team respond, rally around that guy. It was awesome.
Because I feel like in moments like that, that's when you reveal what your real character is and how much. Because no one's forcing him to play football at that point, but he's deciding like the best way I know how to honor my father is by playing this game.
Yeah, the game he taught me to play when I was a kid. I think his dad was his coach. When he was a youngster as well. But yeah, just to go out there and perform the way he did with all the emotions and the spotlight. I mean, everyone was watching that game. First of all, it's Monday night, but to have that situation happen when it did, and then for them to be on Monday night, just kind of a perfect storm, I guess, for everyone to see what was going on.
And I feel like right now, too, there's an aspect of sports. You're going to look at players like Brett Favre and others where it's like, how is this going to inspire me to be a better person? Not just a better football player, but just even talking about fatherhood. I know right now Tony Dungy is under fire for no reason whatsoever. He basically said here, like, obviously –
You know the reason.
Yeah, I mean, he's with Governor Ron DeSantis.
If you're on one side, you can say whatever you want to. But if you're on the other side, you can't say anything that could possibly conflict with what they believe in.
And he's talking about this fatherhood bill where there's $70 million that are going to be advocated or allotted to different initiatives to make sure fatherhood is something that is essential in society because it really is. And he brought up even the biggest flack that Tony Dungy got for everybody that is not familiar with the story. I know we covered it on Wednesday's live show, but talking about how 95% of 19, 20, 21-year-olds are in prison don't have a father. We're not talking about socioeconomic.
Yeah.
We're not talking about race relations things. We're talking about boys that are growing up, and statistically, they are at a disadvantage because they don't have a father in the home. And Tony Dungy is standing by that, and all of a sudden he's some sort of villain.
Yeah,
for saying it for fatherhood.
He's one of the best people you'll ever meet. I played against. They beat us in the Super Bowl when he was with the Colts in 2006. But he is one of the best human beings you're going to meet. He doesn't care about sides. He cares about what's right. Yep. You know, I think I don't know what the bill was. I don't have any idea. But it seems to make sense that you would want to put some funding behind men being in their children's lives. It makes sense what the statute just told me, at least. And he's standing behind that. You're not going to find a better man than him. And anything he stands behind is usually a pretty solid thing. He's a man of faith. But yeah, if like I said, if it's something you agree with on the other side, doesn't fit a narrative, I guess, that someone's trying to push. But it doesn't make sense to me how they're jumping all over him.
I feel like there's just so many initiatives in the NFL that and there are some good ones, no doubt. And there's definitely some progress that the NFL has made in certain communities at times. But when you talk about fatherhood, there's way too often that we see stories about athletes just grew up in a single parent home. And most of the time it's just with their mother. And
I was a single parent. My mom was a single parent until she married my stepdad when I was 15. So it was just my mom. Well, she got divorced when I was 7, and she was single until she married my stepdad at 15. So she had 3 jobs, raising us 3 kids. So I'm sure and it's weird how most athletes come out of that. Like you said, there's probably not just high stat for athletes, but for, I would say, the whole country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not just athletes, but the whole country has probably high stats for single mothers.
And your stepdad is someone you got pretty close with, right?
That's my guy.
He became like your role model.
Yeah. So he, Troy Leonard's his name, but he after him and my mom got married, he's my dad. I call him dad. I've always called him dad. But yeah, I was very fortunate that he came into our lives when he did, because he didn't put up with anything. My mom didn't either, by the way, but he just kind of reaffirmed what she was putting down. He was the man. We'd get swats with Uncle Henry if we messed up. It took twice for me to get swats with the board, and that was it. Yeah, back when you could actually spank your kids. I got spanked when I was a kid.
Oh, man, I got whooped. I was definitely I always felt like I was a pretty good kid, but I think you would ask my parents and be like, yeah, he was a good kid, but man, around the house, we had to give him a whooping a few times. And man, did I learn? I learned today.
You learn how to act for other people, right? At home, this is what people talk about their kids. Like, oh, he's such a little punk at home. He's this and that. I go, well, how is he at school? How is he at other people's? He's great. I go, who cares then? If you have to deal with it, you have to spank him and this and that. That's okay. Make sure you handle him at home. And that way when he goes off to school, he acts right. Or he or she, when he goes up to their friend's house, yes, sir, no, sir, very polite. But at home, so you have to drop the hammer every once in a while. That's okay, as long as the other parents or teachers aren't coming to you saying, hey, we got some issues there.
Do you feel like there was an issue during your playing days when it came to domestic violence and sexual assault? Because it feels like we've covered that on our show. And there's obviously times where I feel like maybe specifically Roger Goodell and is kind of been light on some of these, and then someone like Calvin Ridley that we brought up earlier when we were talking about betting.
$1,500.
It's like he's out the entire
You
season.
did the worst thing you could possibly do. There's no chance you're playing in the football game and you bet on it. How could you ever do that? That's the worst thing ever. It's dumb.
And then people like Greg Hardy that were constantly getting in trouble there, and it's just there is an aspect I do understand with sports where if you can play, you have. These teams are going to do whatever the hell they can to get you on the field because it's going to sell tickets, it's going to sell jerseys, and it's going to help you win games. But I feel like if they really did care about some of these initiatives, push fatherhood, and then actually do whatever you can to stop domestic violence and sexual assault.
So when I don't remember a lot of instances of that when I played, during the NFL or throughout the NFL. I'm sure there were some I don't remember. But when I feel like Goodell, when I played, was if you did something here, this happened. He was there's no gray area with him when I played. No. If you did this, that happened. It was black and white. You do this, that happened. You do that happened. There was no gray area in between. So guys knew if they messed up, they were going to get suspended, or you're going to face some kind of punishment or fine or whatever if you did this or that. And now I don't pay attention enough anymore to know what's really going on. But the thing I don't like is if, say, a guy allegedly does something off the field and doesn't get in trouble by the police where he's acquitted. Why is the NFL jumping in there saying, well, we're going to lay our tally on them. Because say a woman falsely accuses you of something, but you get acquitted of all things criminally, whatever. But the NFL's like, no, we're going to punish him now because that shouldn't have happened. Well, He doesn't have control of what the woman said. You know, it just, there's some things I don't like about that because, I mean, Goodell has a tough job. I get it. But I just don't like the way if a person gets off with our justice system, then that should be the end of it. The NFL shouldn't be able to tally them anymore or take their money or suspend them. Unless there's something else going on, like drug-wise or whatever, they shouldn't be able to do anything else to them.
Because that's what I feel like is odd in this entire situation when you hear about the Washington football team. And there's a whole investigation into this team because there's
350,000 emails.
And the only thing
Here's
you
four
get
of
out
them.
and the only thing you get is John Gruden
from 2011 when he wasn't even a coach.
Exactly.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that. I was so mad. I mean, I don't agree with what he said, but he wasn't an employee of the NFL. He was not an employee of the NFL. He was talking to one of his buddies. Was it Bruce Allen or whoever it was? Somebody for the Redskins.
Yep.
But these out there, all those emails. Those are the 4 or 5 emails you release for John Gruden. There's nothing else in there?
This was an investigation into what formerly known as the Washington Redskins.
They're still the Redskins to me.
Yeah.
They're always going to be the Redskins.
And I respect that.
Yeah, they're always the Redskins.
No doubt.
Yep.
What do you think about the Commanders? The name now.
Who's the Commanders?
It went from the Redskins to the Washington football team, and they're now the Commanders.
They're the Redskins.
I like it.
The Redskins. I don't know. I don't like all these name changes. I like teams. I grew up with them a certain way, and that's kind of how I remember them. So that's how I refer to them as well.
But with this situation here, it's like, and then you look at the Deshaun Watson situation, where it's like, obviously someone is innocent before they're proven guilty. No doubt. But if you have
Used to be.
Now
you're guilty until proven innocent, I feel like. It's flipped.
Speaking of that, though, because when you think about guilty before proven innocent, a lot of people think about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh,
and then Max Kellerman brought that one up. It's like, so according to sources, so he liked something that was favorable for Kyle Rittenhouse, someone that just went out and he was just there to shoot people.
He was a murderer. Yeah.
Oh, also too, Kyle's been around. Kyle's been around here. Kyle, if Max Kellerman is not a part of your lawsuit, add him to the list, brother.
Yeah, get him on there. Get some of that punk's money. What were we saying before that? Sorry.
But basically,
guilty. Yeah, the Deshaun Watson thing. I don't know. That's a big deal. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's being said. But they're all civil.
Yeah.
There's nothing criminally that they're not pursuing him criminally. They're all civil lawsuits, and it's all the same lawyer representing every one of them.
Yep.
What do you believe? Deshaun seems like a good guy. I don't know. I've never seen otherwise. I don't know what to believe. What the media pushes this and that, so I don't know what to believe. I just got paid $240 million guaranteed from the Browns. That's a lot of bread.
And he's making $1 million next year, though. So if he does not play next year, like that's the
good by his agent. I didn't know that.
That's the weird part.
So they know. They know it's coming.
I mean, that's where it's like there's potential. That's where it seems like kind of sleazy to me, though. Right?
By who? By his agent or by the team?
Like there is the smart, business aspect, smart, but it's also just like this guy just made. It had the biggest contract, biggest guaranteed contract.
Well, they made 30-something million last year, too, for not playing it down. Or however much it was.
But I feel like with something like this, I think they even signed him before the criminal lawsuits were figured out and dismissed. So something like this I kind of see here is like a business aspect, smart. Agent aspect, smart. Player aspect, smart. But like from a cultural and maybe moral perspective, it's kind of like
questionable. Like you gave him all this money, but there could still be some consequences for what he allegedly did. Yeah, that's a chance you take, though. I mean, it's professional sports. If you got a guy who's talented like that, or who you deem to be the savior for your franchise, you take that risk, right? Yeah. It's hard to find a quarterback in the NFL that he's good. He's really good. So it's hard to do. It's hard to find a guy like that and actually have a chance to get them. And you know what they're. It's not like going through the draft where you're not sure if he's going to be good or not. It's not like that. This guy's proven to be good. So I guess you take whatever risk you can take to get him.
And I think along these lines, though, when you're talking, I want to go back to the Bears and Packers rivalry. Yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's talking about, I own y'all. Like
he's the best I've ever played against. I say this every time anyone asks me who the best quarterback I played against, it's Aaron Rodgers. No doubt. I mean, he
said that you were his favorite player, right? Didn't he say that at some point?
I don't know, but I appreciate it.
Dan Patrick brought that up or something.
We had some great interactions pre-snap. Like right before the ball was snapped, we would he'd be changing his call, changing his call. I'm not sure if he was or not, but we'd be changing ours. But just even between plays, he's a great dude. I enjoy playing against him. He's competitive as hell, which I like, but he's respectful. He didn't. I don't feel like he did it when I played against him. He was not disrespectful at all. He was just freaking good, and it was frustrating because he's always been good. It's annoying. He doesn't put the football in jeopardy. You watch his pick numbers, like 2, 3, 4 a year. How do you do that?
Yep.
How do you throw 4 picks in a 17 game
A little bit
season?
different from Brett Favre.
Yeah, well, but that's why I like Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Brett Favre would take, right, as a kid, I was like, oh, he's got a great pick. But so when we played him, our coach was like, hey, you're going to get 3 or 4 chances a game to catch a ball from Brett Favre. Whether you catch it or not is up to you. Because he threw the ball hard as hell.
It's coming at you 150 miles an hour.
It's going to be throwing hard, so you better catch it. There was one year we played in 2001 up there. He threw it at me, and it went right through my hands and hit me in the chest. Like, I was like, I got this. And I caught it, but it was a body catch because it went through my hands. It hit me right in the chest. And I was like, oh, I got it. And I took off. But it's just a matter of whether you're going to catch the ball or not because he's going to give you chances because his arm, that was him. That's what he did.
Did you have interactions with Brett Favre like you had with Aaron Rodgers?
Both of the guys are great. And Brett Favre's probably the most competitive guy I've played against. He hated losing, and he played through everything. He was going to be out there. He pulled muscles, broken bones. He was going to be out there. I had so much respect for him, just the way he did it, so crazy. He was out there the whole time. But yeah, I was very fortunate to play against both of those guys. I think I played half against Brett and half against Aaron in my career. Maybe 7 for Brett and 6 for Aaron. So,
what was your reaction to all the heat that Aaron Rodgers was getting this last season? Because you have such an ultimate respect for the guy, and you have people like, I'm sure you know, Hub Arkush.
Yeah, he's a Chicago guy. Oh, yeah, I mean, so I don't know how he can still vote for anything after saying that, what he said. Because he has a vote for the MVP, I guess?
Yeah, he has a vote for the MVP and basically was saying that, like, I think Aaron Rodgers is the worst of the worst. He doesn't deserve anything. It was obviously just a leftist
He said he's
narrative.
The biggest jerk in the NFL.
Biggest jerk in the NFL. It's like,
based on what, Hub? Yeah, I was not very fond of that comment. I just don't see how you can vote for somebody when you have preconceived notions. It's based on what they do on the field. Allegedly, right? Yeah. Just like the Hall of Fame is based on what you do on the field, supposedly, when you go in. So I just don't understand how he can still have a vote. And just like Aaron said, how can this guy still have a vote after he's already got preconceived notions about me because he doesn't like that I got the shot? Didn't get the shot. So what? It's my decision. If I don't want to get it, I don't have to. Well, you lied to us about not getting it. I said I was immunized. That's what he said, right?
Yeah.
Didn't lie. I
mean, you even have Dr. Fauci. Lord Fauci, saying that
like the so smart,
the best. Oh, he is the smartest of them all.
Amazing.
Man, I'm so glad we go to him for everything. But he was even saying,
just go to the NFL doctors. Why are they using Fauci?
Exactly.
The NFL got rid of COVID. Fauci needs to take some advice from them.
Hey, I completely agree with that.
Right?
That should be the COVID task force. Is the NFL doctors,
the playoff NFL doctors? Whoever ran the playoff testing or situation for the NFL, that's who it needs to be for the and also the NBA had 0 tests after the NFL did that as well. I think there was no more testing.
I mean, even look at what's going on right now in the NBA. I mean, I know you're not watching. Kyrie Irving hasn't been able to play a home game.
I did follow. I like Kyrie. I like Kyrie. Yeah, I follow that guy. I like the way he stood his ground. And look what happened in the end.
And then, like, just talking about Lord Fauci is what he was saying years ago, that the best vaccine against a virus is getting the virus itself.
I saw that.
So that's exactly
that got taken down real quick, by the way. Everywhere you saw it was gone like that, and it was always tagged. COVID-19 information is disinformation, whatever they put it, the fact checkers. But yeah, I saw that, but that doesn't seem to make sense anymore. That was back then, though. That's different now.
Oh, it's way different.
Science has changed with COVID compared to what he was talking about back in the day.
Oh, it's like the wind. It changes whenever.
With the wind. That's exactly right.
But Kyrie Irving, I mean, that's somebody that's what's interesting with conversations like this and conversations I have with, like, even my parents and other people saying, like, I don't follow the NBA, but I like Kyrie. So I'm going to follow, what's happening in his press conferences. What's going on with, is he going to be able to play? All these things. So what initially attracted you to Kyrie? Was there just a news article? Was there something you saw?
No, I knew who he was. Obviously, I know who he is from watching NBA back in the days, and at Duke, I watched him as well. But just he says a lot of good things. He does a lot of good things. And then this past couple of years, obviously, what's been going on in the NBA, and he stood his ground. There's so much backlash against him and everything else. And he was like, the best thing to do is when they played in New York, he couldn't play in the game, but he could go to the game.
Yeah, when he went to go see Duke.
How great was that? He was at the game, his own team's game.
Massless.
Yeah, massless. Courtside, but you can't play in the game. Sorry, bud. How does that make any sense to anybody? It makes zero sense, and I think he kind of exposed him. I'm not sure how soon after that all that stuff changed, but I just
like weeks later.
Yeah, they finally exposed a little bit of it about the nonsense of how dumb it was. But the kid in Orlando, is it Jonah Isaac?
Jonathan Isaac.
Jonathan, I like that guy too.
Amazing.
Same
guy.
way. And the thing, I follow him on Instagram as well. The things he says as well are just common sense.
Great Christian dude too.
Yeah, super Christian guy. Most of the stuff they say is kind of common sense if you just kind of think about what they're saying and what they're doing. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's my body. I should know what goes into it. And I've dealt with my body since I was born, so I think I know how I perform and react to certain things in my body.
Yeah, and
why risk putting something that you're not sure what you're going to get out of it?
But that's an interesting part of society right now. And talk about like, well, this is what my body feels like. A lot of people are saying like, I feel like a woman. Oh. Like like that stuff now. It's like basically people are dumbing things down to a feeling. I know we've covered it extensively on this show. I went out to the Division I swimming championships.
You were there for that?
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was just a wild.
How does he hide it?
It's there.
How does he hide it?
It's there. I don't want to know. So I don't want to know how that's being hidden.
But I'm looking at pictures of Leah, and I'm like, where is it? I know it's in there. Right?
I'll be completely honest. I was definitely looking.
Yeah, hell yeah, you were looking. So I'm looking at I'm like, where's this dude put this thing? Is he like, you've seen Silence of the Lambs, right? Is he Buffalo Bill? Is he tucking it like, ooh? You remember that part?
I definitely remember that part.
I'm looking like, dang, how's he swimming with it? Maybe he gets out and does it. I don't know.
But sometimes when you're swimming, it's not as impressive.
That's when you want to hide it because it's cold. Anyway, you were there for that. I bet that was stressful.
Oh my gosh. And it's just like you're dumbing things down to feelings. I was so interested. I'm like, I want to talk to Leah Thomas supporters. And like, just because that's what I feel like we need to do.
There were some there?
Yeah. So they had some on one side closest to the aquatic center. Yeah. I know a lot of people have heard stories behind this. We had a swim coach from Rice, Seth Houston was on. We've had some pro swimmers talk about this as well. But when I was telling people about what it was like there were Save Women's Sports that were obviously against males competing in women's sports. And then the other side, you had Leah Thomas supporters. And I was like, simple questions. What is a woman? Do you feel like Leah has a biological advantage over these females? Yep. And when I asked the simple question of what is a woman, and I know this is something that's
a hard question. You're not a biologist.
Oh, I know.
You got to be tough. That's a tough question.
That's a tough part.
You're not a biologist, so you can't answer that question.
I mean, that's what's a crazy world we live in. You have to be a biologist to know what a woman is.
A woman is.
And
I think I know what a woman is.
I think we know what it is.
I'm pretty sure I know what a woman is.
Yeah, I think there's two genders I heard, and there's XX and XY.
Yes, you can. But the problem, not the problem. I'm not going to say it's a problem. The thing is, you can identify a certain thing. I'm okay. So the problem I have is if you're fully transitioned and you want to compete against women, I think it's more. It's more okay with me because if you still have men body parts, you should not be competing against the women. I just don't understand how that's okay. You don't see women who are still women transitioning to be a dude competing against dudes. I haven't seen that yet. Maybe I'm missing out.
Because that was the interesting part of this. Because I know asking the supporters, there was like, all right, well, I feel like gender's different for everybody. Being a woman is different for everybody. And then you talk about that specific aspect. It's like, well, why did one of the best women's soccer teams, our U.S. women's national team, get beat by 15U boys out of Dallas?
Yeah, I heard not just beat. Crushed.
Like, in basically, it's just like there is a biological advantage there.
It's just what it is.
When you're talking about somebody that's transitioning, like we live in this world now that I hate to see people mutilating their bodies to be something that they're not. But there was a swimmer, transgender male. So someone broke this down to me, and it was the best way to understand when you hear all these, like there's so many new genders, there's pronouns. And then when you say transgender male, like what does that mean? Just replace transgender with fake. So this is a fake male.
Fake male.
This is a fake male. Isaac Hennig, that swims for Yale, was at the swimming championships.
Okay.
And
transgender, fake male.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So a biological female and had the top surgery and warmed up topless, and you could see the scars here, which like breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But was warming up for the finals on the last day of competing.
Made the finals?
And it's like very good, but that's what's interesting is you have a biological female that transitions to a male but won't go and compete in men's sports. Like,
Isaac was competing against the women?
Exactly.
Oh, so, how's that fair?
Because you're
taking the testosterone and whatever else you have to take to be a male. You should not be allowed to compete against the females. They're giving it both ways. So it's just I don't understand that. And there was a track runner in high school, I want to say in South Carolina, who was let me see how you would say this, a fake woman.
Yeah, so a transgender female is a fake woman.
So he still was transitioning into a female, but he still has male body parts. He set all these state records in South Carolina for the women.
Yeah,
but he was a man.
And I've heard like a track athlete in Connecticut.
Yeah, well. I'm okay if you want to transition. I have no problem with that, but don't compete against the opposite sex. Usually it's men versus women until you're transitioned. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be able to do that until you're fully transitioned and estrogen, all that stuff or whatever. You shouldn't still have testosterone flowing through you if you're competing against women.
Because that's where I feel like there's an aspect here of like already a male going through puberty is a massive advantage, even if you're going to take estrogen and you're going to take testosterone blockers and stuff like that. Like there's already a physical advantage with like lung capacity. You're talking about bone density. Yeah. You're talking about muscles, everything. That's just like this does not devalue women's sports, saying that a male is going to most likely. That's why it's like the NBA. You're not going to see a woman probably ever make it into the NBA.
No.
You're probably not going to see a woman make it into Major League Baseball. It could, but I just don't.
Tell me you saw what Chappelle said about LeBron going to the WNBA.
Man, he would score like a trillion
840 points. He would average 840 points if he decided to transition and go to the WNBA. There were some other things he said too in that. Oh, yeah. It was great.
But that's an important conversation.
It's true though, man. That's why there's men in sports and there's women's sports. We're different. That's all there's to it.
And I feel like this comes down to an aspect of like we've just gotten so soft as a society in so many different ways. You're talking about fatherhood's under attack. Women's sports is under attack, mostly because men are taking over.
There's guys competing in women's sports. That's why.
Also, I feel like that's why we need male athletes to speak out against this. It's like, no, this is not being hateful. This is trying to be fair. That it's all about the fairness. That's what we're bringing up. We're not hateful. We're not calling for violence. That's it.
Just be fair. I agree. It's not fair when a man competes in women's sport. That's all there is to it. Now, golf, that's a different story. Women's golf, if a man wants to try and play women's golf, good luck, buddy. Those girls are good. They are good. Man, I really enjoy watching women's golf. I like watching women's volleyball. They're really good too. Some women's sports I really like watching. There are some that I don't really like watching. I love watching women's swimming too. Like when the Olympics roll around.
Man,
those girls are badass.
That was an aspect of going to the swim meet. Like people like Reagan Smith, like holy smokes.
She won the gold. She was in the Olympics. They're unbelievable. Man. The time they put in. But yeah, there's some really amazing women's sports that are fun to watch for me.
Stay tuned for part 2 of this conversation next week.
Win, puts it out.